Have you ever wondered if you retired too early? Or maybe you're thinking about when's the right time to retire? Imagine this: you worked hard your entire life, you saved diligently, and you finally reached that magical retirement age. You hand in that resignation letter with a mix of excitement and some trepidation. You don't know exactly what's coming next, but fast forward a few years and you're faced with the harsh reality that your nest egg is dwindling faster than you expected. Your days lack purpose and you're considering the unthinkable, going back to work. Well, this scenario is more common than you might think, and today we're going to dive deep into why this happens and how you can prevent it from happening to you. So today we're going to explore the 5 biggest regrets of Americans who called it quits before they were truly ready. This is going to be a good episode, so stay tuned to learn how you can avoid these common pitfalls and create a retirement that's both financially secure and, more importantly, spiritually fulfilling. Now, before we get started on today's show, let me talk to you a brief minute about yesterday's show. Yesterday, we had a great discussion about the best money lessons to teach your kids. I highly recommend, if you miss it, to go back and check it out because we covered some crucial financial principles that can set your children up for a lifetime of financial success. As always, you can find those episodes right at AskRalph.com. Well, we got a fantastic message from Jackie, and this is what Jackie said. She said, "Hey, Ralph, I've been a loyal listener of your show for the past year, and it's truly changed my perspective on finances and faith. I'm writing because I'm approaching retirement age, and I am excited about the prospect of leaving the 9-to-5 grind, but I'm also terrified of making a mistake. I've heard stories of people retiring too early and regretting it. Can you share some insights on this? How do I know if I'm really ready to retire both financially and spiritually? Thank you for all you do." Well, Jackie, that is a powerful question, and it's one that I'm going to give you an answer to. And again, I want to say thank you for your question, and thank you for the kind words you said. It's an incredibly timely discussion. As I get older, I just turned 52, and now I'm thinking about these things that are going on. So it's a topic that's close to my heart, and I've worked with many clients. Many clients who are in that same dilemma. So I'm excited to share some of those experiences with you today. Well, welcome to the show. I am thrilled you're joining me on this journey of finances and faith. I truly appreciate you taking your time. I know that you've got a limited amount of time and you're spending with me. I want to explore today a topic that is crucial. Crucial for anyone that's approaching that retirement age. Now, before we get started, I want to share a Bible verse that I believe is particularly relevant to our topic today, and it comes from the book of Proverbs. Yes, we get a lot of them from Proverbs because there were some great things in there. This particular one's from chapter 21, verse 5. And I've used this before, but it hits exactly what we're talking about. And it says this: "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." That's a powerful verse, but it reminds us the importance of careful planning. It reminds us the importance of patience in our financial life, especially when it comes to major decisions like retirement. Well, now let's get into the heart of today's topic, and that's the 5 regrets of Americans who retired too early. I want to start by telling you a story that really brings this issue to life. Now, I had this client a few years ago, and I'll call him George. Now, George was a hardworking dude. He was a successful small business owner, and he'd been running his company for 30 years. So he's 62, he's feeling burned out, and the idea of retirement, man, it was like a siren's call. It beckoned him. He saw it as his days being filled with golf, being able to travel with his wife, and just spending time relaxing. So George came into me for advice, and yes, I do offer retirement planning advice. I don't do investment decisions, but I can help you make the decision about when to retire, what that should look like. So George came in, we sat down, we looked at his finances, and truth be told, on paper, everything seemed to be in order. He had really diligently put money into his retirement, put it into what was called a self-directed 401k. His house was almost paid off. In fact, I think it was like within a year or a year and a half of being paid off. He had listened to me. He built this decent emergency fund. So based on the standard calculations, it looked like George was ready to go and could retire comfortably. So guess what George did? He took the plunge. He sold his business, and he threw himself a big retirement party. I was there. It was a massive party, and it was cool seeing all the people that he had impacted through his life. And George embarked on this new time of journey, this new life of leisure that he had. And for the first few months, everything he dreamed of, it was great. He played golf 3 times a week. He got to take a cruise with his wife he was never able to do because he was running his business. And he caught up on all those books he'd been meaning to read. Hopefully you read my books. Then something started to change. George shared with me, he said, Ralph, I'm feeling restless. And George was missing the challenges of running his business. He missed that sense of purpose that it gave him. And to make matters even worse, George started to notice that his retirement savings weren't stretching quite as far as he had hoped. So picture this, 2 years into retirement, George came back to see me. He says, Ralph, I need to sit down with you. I need to talk about what's going on. He was actually considering going back to work, but he was worried about how it would affect his Social Security benefits and his overall financial picture. He felt lost. He was confused. And frankly, I think he was a bit embarrassed too, because he thought he had made the right decision. But now all of a sudden he feels like he doesn't have a purpose. He feels like I need something to do. And unfortunately, George's story is not unique. It touches on several of the most common regrets I've seen among people who retire too early. So let me break those down for you. The first one, I see this all the time, and it's financial strain. Many people underestimate just how much money they're going to need in retirement. A lot of times it's because of things like inflation. Like right now, we are in a period of inflation. If you go to the grocery store, stuff costs something a year ago is more than it was, 6 months ago. It just continues to go up. Another big one under these financial strains are these unexpected medical expenses. And that's just a fact of life, because the truth is, the simple fact is, you might live longer than you anticipate. You're going to have those medical expenses, but you're going to have to spread that income over a longer period of time, which is great that you're alive, but that can lead to a lot of stress, and it forces you to make some difficult financial decisions. Let's talk about George. George realized his savings were going down quickly, and it scared him, quite frankly. It really worried him. The second thing, loss of purpose. This one is enormous. People don't realize work provides more than just a paycheck. In many ways, our work is our sense of identity. It gives us purpose. It's our social connection. And I will tell you, many of my retiree clients struggle with feeling adrift or useless. And I know that's a harsh word to use, but that's what they've told me. George shared this with me firsthand. He said, Ralph, I feel useless. I feel like I don't have any purpose. Yeah, I'm enjoying playing golf. I'm enjoying doing things with my wife, but man, I don't feel like I've got that connection. I don't have that purpose, that sense of identity. Which leads me to the third thing, and that's just pure boredom. While the idea of endless free time sounds great, the reality is many of my retiree clients find themselves bored and understimulated. They miss those mental challenges, those social interactions that work provided. Listen, in George's case, he did not like being idle. Even if he was able to play more golf, he needed those social interactions with his customers and suppliers. That's what fueled him. And he didn't have this anymore, and he just felt lost and hopeless. Another thing a lot of people don't want to talk about, and that's number 4, and that's strained relationships. And I'm not a relationship counselor, but I have seen this time and time again with my clients. And this is the unfortunate truth. But spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with a spouse or partner can be challenging, especially if you're not used to it. If you've always worked in your own business, and trust me, if you're a small business person, you're probably working crazy hours. But you don't think about that, all of a sudden that change, and you're home all the time. And many couples find that retirement puts this unexpected strain on their relationships. Now, George shared with me candidly that he felt like his wife and him were really struggling with this. And I've had many clients in the same situation. And here's the thing I'm going to say about that. You've got to plan for this. You've got to discuss that empty nest with your partner and start talking about, what do we do? And this isn't necessarily a retirement thing. I was talking to somebody this morning. This could be when your kids leave the nest. This could be when you change careers. You've got to have those discussions and talk about what that looks like. And number 5, and this one is the tough one, and George kind of had a little bit of this, and that's difficulty re-entering the workforce. If you find yourself in that financial necessity, or you're bored and you get driven back to work, you want to go back to work, unfortunately, you might find that the job market has changed. The truth is, if you look around, technology moves fast and skills can become outdated quickly. And here's the thing George said to me. He says, Ralph, dude, I do not want to be one of those greeters at Walmart. He wanted to get back involved. He wanted to do things, but he said, Ralph, I don't want to be standing on my feet or sitting on a stool and telling everybody as they come in the door, hey, welcome to Walmart. Now, you might be wondering, Ralph, all this sounds pretty grim. Are you saying you shouldn't retire? And I don't mean to be negative. I'm not saying that at all. The truth is, retirement can be a wonderful phase of life, but it requires careful planning, both financially and spiritually. So you might be asking, Ralph, how can we avoid these regrets? Here are some actionable steps that you can take. First thing you need to do, you need to sit down and do a thorough financial assessment. Don't just rely on those rules of thumb or those online calculators. There's a bunch of those out there. You might be looking at, maybe you're 62 years old and you're like, well, you're not going to collect my Social Security and do this and that and the other thing, but you're missing out on some things. So you got to sit down with a financial advisor who understands both your financial situation, and I'm going to plug myself here a little bit, but also your faith-based values, because retirement is not just your savings, but it's your expected expenses. It's those healthcare costs, and you want to make sure that your spending is going to align with your values. So that's number one, and that's do a thorough financial assessment. Number two, and I'm going to stress this one, consider a phased retirement. It's not an all or nothing thing. Instead of going from full-time work to full-time retirement overnight, you could consider scaling back gradually. And then you can adjust both financially and emotionally. And I've had clients that have done this kind of what I call semi-retirement, and they phased themselves out over time, and they found it to be really rewarding because they still had those connections, they still had that drive, but they didn't have to be so responsible for the day-to-day things. Third thing, you've got to develop a retirement purpose. You can't just decide, oh, I'm going to retire and not have a purpose. So before you retire, spend some quality time thinking about what you want this phase of your life to look like. You got to ask yourself a tough question like, how do I serve God in my community? What goals do I want to accomplish? Having a clear sense of purpose can make retirement much more fulfilling. This is a great time to share what you've learned over your career. Maybe you want to give back. Maybe you want to be a community mentor. Maybe you want to work with people in the same industry. Maybe you want to volunteer at your church. Maybe you want to become a missionary. But you've got to have that plan. You got to know what that looks like before you even decide to retire. Number 4, stay engaged. You've got to look for ways to stay mentally and socially active. Maybe that's volunteering, as we talked about. Maybe it's taking classes or even starting a small business or a consulting practice. I have many clients who do this, and they find it extremely rewarding. It is just, they got to stay engaged. You want to stay involved in things, because I've had so many clients who've retired, and then their idea is sit on the couch and what's next on TV. And to be blunt with you, they don't last long, and they don't have that fulfillment, and they get really negative. I'm not trying to be negative, but they get that way. So number 5, and this one's important as well, maintain your skills. Even if you don't plan to work, you can keep your skills sharp. You can give, that will give you more options down the road. One of the great things we have here in Delaware, the University of Delaware has this thing called the Academy of Lifelong Learning. And as I understand it, you can basically go take college classes for free once you get to be a certain age, and that can give you that skill set. And maybe it's just a matter of being engaged, it's a matter of having some social connections with people going around you. This is also a great time to strengthen your relationships. If you're intentional about it, you can invest time in your marriage, invest time with your family. Go do those things you never were able to do because you were always working, grow those friendships. But the thing you're going to need to realize is you're going to have to do that before and during retirement. You can't just decide, okay, I'm going to retire, and then next week I'm going to have this social calendar full of stuff. It's not going to happen like that. You've got to invest those times before and after retirement, because the truth is, if you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 10 times. Strong relationships are key to a happy retirement. The clients that I have that have happy retirements are the people who are involved. They're doing this with their senior center, or they're involved in the community. They're doing something with their church. And last but not least, and I'm a big guy, but here's the deal. You've got to stay physically active. Maintain that regular exercise. Keep that healthy diet, because guess what? It's going to help you stay fit. But bigger than that, it will help you save on those healthcare costs in retirement, because the truth is, I've seen way too many clients just fall apart after retirement. And to be honest with you, I've told my wife this many times. I told my boys this, the same thing. I'm planning to work until the day I die. Now, I might work as hard as I work every day, but I'm planning to stay involved, and I'm going to stay connected. I've already kind of planned for retirement. My house, I've got a first floor master bedroom. My office here on the farm, I can walk to it if I needed to, if I couldn't drive. But I've planned for those things, and I'm planning to stay engaged. I'm planning to work. Like, my uncle passed away about 2 years ago, and my uncle was a colonel from the Army. And the one thing he said to me was, when he retired, he did like 33 years in the military. He says, Ralph, I'm going to stay engaged. And he worked. He ran a small business, like what we call a side gig. And even once he was done with that, He spent days, like he would do his Sudoku every day. He would do the New York Times crossword puzzle. Because what he said to me many times is, Ralph, I got to keep the mind sharp. The body is going to fall apart. That's just the nature of what it is. But he said, Ralph, it's all about keeping that mind sharp. And he lived to be, I want to say like 87 or 88 years old. And remember this, retirement isn't just about having enough money. I think I've stressed that today. It's about creating a life that's meaningful, a life that's purposeful, and a life that's aligned with your values. The truth is, as Christians, we're called to be stewards of our resources, and that includes our time and our talents as well as our money. So let's go back to George. Well, George was upset. He decided he was going to figure out a solution, so he came in, we sat down, and guess what George did? He started a small consulting business. This allowed him to work part-time and doing what he loved. It helped him provide additional income so he wasn't feeling like his money was going away. It provided mental stimulation, and it gave him a sense of purpose. And the cool thing was he didn't have the stress of meeting payroll. He didn't have the stresses of worrying about building a business. He wasn't running that full-time business. And so we were able to take that. We adjusted his financial plan to account for that additional income, and we ensured he was still maximizing his Social Security benefits. So the key takeaway here is that retirement doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposition. It's not a decision of, do I retire or not retire? Because there are many ways to create a fulfilling post-career life that balances financial security, balances personal fulfillment, and most importantly, balances that spiritual growth. So let me wrap up by reminding you of a few things. Number one, many people who retire too early regret it due to financial strain. They regret it due to that loss of purpose, that boredom, those relationship challenges, and that difficulty handling the workforce. The second thing, I want to stress this. It all comes down to careful planning, both financially and spiritually. It's crucial for successful retirement. And as I've said, probably heard it 3 times already. Number 3, consider a phased approach to retirement and stay open to those hybrid options that allow you to remain engaged and still provide for some financial security. Develop a clear sense of purpose for your retirement years that aligns with your faith and values. If you don't have a purpose, your retirement is not going to be great. It's going to suck, to be blunt. And I've had many clients use that word. They said, Ralph, this sucks. I enjoyed work and I enjoyed the things I do. And now I feel like I'm useless. I feel like I got nothing going on. But if you develop a sense of purpose that aligns with your faith, you can keep that. And lastly, stay mentally and socially active in retirement. And you got to think along these times. This is the truth. Retirement is not the end of your journey. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. So with proper planning and a focus on what truly matters, it can be one of the most rewarding periods of your life. I know I sound a little bit negative today, but I've had so many clients who have enjoyed retirement. It gave them the opportunity to do things they haven't been able to do. Well, thank you for joining me today on this episode. I hope it's given you some food for thought as you consider your own retirement plans. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be discussing a spiritual Sunday topic, and that's how do I work at cultivating Christian community? This is a crucial aspect that can have profound impact on our financial decisions as well, so make sure you tune in tomorrow. Now, maybe today's episode has made you realize that you need some help planning for your financial future. Well, I'm going to encourage you to schedule an appointment with me, so for a $150 consultation fee, I will work with you to improve your personal finances. I can help you look at your business finances, maybe need help growing your business, all with the goal to help you achieve all your financial goals. To schedule with me, just go to askralphpodcast.com/store. You can schedule right there. We'll put together a personalized planning session. But you need to do it. So go to that website and do it right now. Remember this. My passion is to help you achieve financial success. I want you to live out your dreams. Your dreams might not be the same as my dreams or the same as my other clients' dreams. I want to help you live out those dreams. I want you to grow in your faith. And I know if we work together, we can master your finances from a Christian perspective, which will open doors for you to be able to focus on your purpose. When you are able to handle those lower level needs, you'll be able to find that self-actualization and actually get to your purpose. So I know I've gone a little long today, but I want you to remember this. Stay financially savvy, and God bless you.
Thank you for joining us on the Ask Ralph podcast. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. And remember, financial issues don't have to be complicated. Just ask Ralph. The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.